Hello, boys and girls. Back with another video. This one is about reading in the subject areas. This lesson is really trying to help you understand that words are very important when you want to understand nonfiction texts, especially nonfiction texts. Because reading in the subject areas means reading topics that are content or subject specific, meaning you're going to be reading about social studies concepts, history, geography, science concepts, not just reading stories or random articles. This has a very specific focus on the content that you might learn in a social studies textbook or a science textbook, or even the arts or music. So this lesson we did on Tuesday. So if you were in school on Tuesday, you would have gotten this lesson. But if you missed it and you weren't there, this is a quick overview of what we discussed. So one of the things that they have you focus on is finding the words in the text that are underlined and trying to determine what it means. And oftentimes when you read unfamiliar words or words that you don't know the meanings of, you can use the words around the text, the words that are next to that underlined word or close to it to help you understand what it means. Here's an example. I want to know what the word maze means. Not to be confused with M-A-Z-E, which is like a puzzle. This is M-A-I-Z-E. When I read the words or the sentences around it, I get some very interesting clues. The people had to gather, grow, or hunt all their food. Some groups farmed the land and grew crops such as beans, maize, and pumpkins. Well, right from just that sentence here, some groups farmed the land and grew crops. Maize has to be a type of food. So I know that much. Now, does it tell me specifically what type of food it is? No, but understanding that maize is a type of food that was grown, that was important to the Plains Indians, is what I need to understand to read on. Now, if I look up the word maize, I'll find out that it's corn. But we know that it's some type of vegetable that's being grown. Okay, so that's just an example. Let's look and read a passage called the United Nations. The United Nations. And this was a practice activity that we didn't do, so we can do this together. When we go to the reading guide, there's four things that we should focus on. What is the purpose of the first paragraph? In other words, why did the author include that paragraph? What clues in paragraph 2 help you understand what the General Assembly is? Where else have you heard the word assembly? What is the subject area of this passage? How do you know? And what other subject area might you encounter the word problem? Okay, so I have a couple words here that I'm going to be looking for. And as I read, I want to keep this reading guide in mind. Okay, so let's read this together. United Nations. How do you solve the world's problems? How do you keep peace among countries? One way is to bring nations together so they can talk. Where can nations talk? One place is the United Nations. That's paragraph 1. Nearly all of the world's 200 countries belong to the United Nations, also called the UN. Every year, representatives from the member countries meet in a General Assembly session at UN headquarters in New York City. In the General Assembly, representatives from each nation can speak about problems they want other nations to know about. The problems might exist in a representative's own country. The problems might affect many countries, or they might affect the world. The UN has special groups that focus on certain issues. Some groups work on climate change, others on education, and still others on hunger. These groups might invite people who have special knowledge to talk about these issues. That's paragraph, that was 2, and this is 3. Sometimes people in the UN need to act quickly. When disaster strikes, the UN organizes people from different countries who work together to send food, clothing, and medical care to the affected country. That's paragraph 4. The UN also serves as a peacekeeping role. When countries are fighting, the UN often asks other countries to send soldiers to help stop the fighting. That's paragraph 5. The Security Council is an important element of the United Nations. Members of the Security Council discuss war and peace. They can vote to punish a country whose leaders are hurting their own people or fighting with another country. That's paragraph 6. The UN allows countries to meet to solve problems. Representatives may disagree, but the UN gives them a place to talk. Over time, they may find ways to work together. And that's paragraph 7. Okay, so let's go back to our guide. And it says, what is the purpose of the first paragraph? Well, anytime you read nonfiction, that first paragraph is often the introduction. It's introducing the topic. And you notice they pose several questions. So I believe the author is trying to get us to understand what role the UN or the United Nations serves. They ask, how do you solve the world's problems? How do you keep peace among countries? And they tell you one way is to bring nations together so they can talk. So from this, I can say that the United Nations is a group of people, of nations, that come to talk to solve the world's problems. What clues in paragraph 2 help you understand what the General Assembly is? Well, it says here, representatives from member countries meet in a General Assembly session at the UN headquarters in New York City. Then it says, in the General Assembly, representatives from each nation can speak about problems they want other nations to know about. So they really focus on a group of nations that come to talk and speak about problems that they want other countries to know about. So those are my clues. Notice that I highlighted words that help me understand more about what the General Assembly is. And I know the word assembly because at school we'll have assemblies when people come to talk or they'll do different shows. So it's a gathering or meeting of people. So the General Assembly is a gathering or meeting of nations like France, England, United States, Germany, and others that meet to solve the world's problems. What is the subject area of this passage? How do you know? Well, this is definitely focusing on social studies, because social studies is the study of people. And you could say this is current events, because this is something that goes on today. But I would say it's related to history and social studies based off the information they're talking about. This is not like a science topic or about art or music. It's about people. And in what other subject might you encounter the word problem? Well, problem here in this text seems to be talking about issues or something that needs to be solved. So I would say life dilemmas that need to be solved. But in other subjects like math, a problem is an equation or a situation where you have to use math skills or logic to solve problems. So it's very similar. So when you read, think about how words are important. Think about how words help you understand the text better. For your assignment for homework, you had to read about ancient astronomers. And then there's some questions here that you're going to read answer as well. Question 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then number 11 is, what is an observatory? Which words in the passage help you understand its meaning? Why did people watch the sky? So in another video, I'll talk about how to answer short response questions and how do you provide the right amount of details to do that. Okay, bye now. See you later.